You're listening to the Good Food CFO podcast, where we focus on financial strategies for building a profitable food business. I'm your host, Sarah Delavan. Today on the podcast, we're talking about financial KPIs, or key performance indicators. I'll be sharing what the essential financial KPIs are that every food and beverage business owner should be tracking in order to achieve financial sustainability and profitability. Then we're going to cover why they're important to track, how to identify your KPIs, tips for creating a system and a schedule to ensure that you're consistently checking in on your KPIs, and what to do with the data you're collecting to create meaningful change within your business. Doing this work will have a big impact on your business and your bottom line. So let's get to it. I'm going to kick things off today by defining what a key performance indicator is, and then provide what I think will be a relatable example to lay the foundation for our conversation. So, a key performance indicator, or KPI, is defined as a measurable value that shows how effectively or efficiently a company is achieving their key business objectives. Let's imagine for a moment that your big business objective is to be the premier US-based dried pasta brand sold in all the best independent grocery stores across the United States. And right now, you're selling your awesome pasta at farmers markets, but you're not currently selling in any independent grocers. To move your business in the direction of achieving your big business goal, you might set a business objective to get into, say, 12 independent grocers in 2021, right? Maybe you want to get into one new grocer every month. This is a measurable objective, which is great. And moving from 0 grocers to 12 grocers is definitely progress toward your business goal. So this is perfect. In order to ensure that you're staying on track to reaching your goals, you may decide to track some KPIs. And in this example, you're definitely going to want to track the number of new accounts you open each month, right? That one seems obvious. But you may also track your new account conversion rate. And you'll do this to see how efficiently you're able to sign new accounts. For example, in this example, we're talking about we want to open 12 accounts this year. And right now, if you're securing 1 out of 10 new accounts that you approach, you have a conversion rate of 10%. And based on that KPI, you now know that you need to reach out to 120 stores in order to reach your business objective. Or you might decide instead to improve your pitch or make other changes to improve your conversion rate. If you only track the number of stores that you sign each month and not how many you've approached so that you can actually see your conversion rate, you wouldn't know what to change or where to focus your attention to improve your outcomes. And it's for reasons just like this that we track business KPIs. And at this point, you may be starting to imagine that there are many KPIs that a business might track. And you're right. There are sales KPIs, there are marketing KPIs, and there are financial KPIs. And typically, the different teams within your organization may track, their own KPIs, or you as the business owner may have an eye on, the key business objectives and the specific KPIs that you want to track to support reaching those objectives. Today, we are going to be zeroing in and focusing on the essential financial KPIs that every food and beverage business owner should be tracking. These are the basics that are going to inform you about your business's financial efficiency. And keeping an eye on these KPIs and moving them in the right direction is going to keep your business moving in the direction of financial sustainability, profitability, and consistent cash flow. So regardless of any of the other KPIs that you are tracking, these essentials are essential. And if you're not tracking any KPIs right now, this is a great place to start. So hopefully you have your pen and paper. Here are the 5 essential financial KPIs. Number 1, your revenue. Number 2, your total cost of goods sold. Number 3, your total operating costs. Number 4, your total labor costs. And number 5, your total ingredient costs. Now, you're going to be tracking your revenue in dollars, and you're going to be tracking your other KPIs as a percentage of revenue. This is very important. These are the major cost categories of your business and the one primary product input, right? Tracking these costs and either keeping them consistent or improving them over time is going to help you achieve financial consistency or improved financial results. Now, beyond these 5 essential KPIs, you may eventually choose to track additional KPIs specific to your business objectives or specific to areas that your business or your team might be struggling in. But these 5 are where I want you to start and are especially important for you to be tracking if you're not financially sustainable or profitable consistently right now. So, now that you know what you're going to track, you need to establish the where, the how, the who, and the when. So we're going to determine where you're going to store your information. This is like, are you going to do it in Google Drive? Are you going to do it in an Excel spreadsheet, on a shared drive? Do you have a team application where you want to store this data so everyone who needs to see it can see it? Decide where this information is going to be stored. Then determine how you're going to store it. By this, I literally mean what is the template or the format in which you're going to store and track this information. With these 5 essentials, you can track them all together on one spreadsheet tab, right? And I highly recommend that you have your monthly or weekly data, and we'll talk about that in a second, running across the page from left to right. And this is going to allow you to see your data side by side so that any changes or variances almost pop off the page very quickly and very easily. Once you figure out how you're going to store the information, right? How you're going to lay it out and how you're going to look at it, you want to determine who's responsible for updating the data. Then how often will it be updated? Then you want to talk about how often it's going to be reviewed and who is going to be involved in the review. Last but not least, you must set a calendar reminder or some sort of trigger to ensure that you stay consistent. I have a weekly task that pops up on my calendar every Monday for me to update the KPIs that I'm responsible for. One of my team members has the same thing on her end, and then we review the KPIs together once a week. Here are a couple other ways that this might look for your business. Your bookkeeper may transfer KPI data from your P&L to a spreadsheet or a Google Doc, right? Saved in a shared drive. And he or she may do this on a monthly basis. And then you and your key team members may get an update or a calendar reminder, or maybe you have a set day of the month that you all sit down together and review the month's data. Another example may look like this. Your bookkeeper updates the numbers monthly, but because you've identified that you need to improve your food cost percentages, you've determined that a team member who's closely connected to ordering and purchasing will update spending numbers on either a daily basis or a weekly basis, and then you will review it on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, right? This is important so that you can keep track of key data very closely and you can keep an eye on it so that if things are getting off track, you're aware of it sooner rather than later. Likewise, if labor costs are something that you're trying to get a handle on or keep consistent as a percentage of revenue, you may have someone recording labor data on a daily basis, and then you may you may review that weekly to gain insights and really figure out what's going on. A single data point doesn't provide us with much insight into what's happening in our business, but a series of data points does. So once you've collected a few weeks or a few months of data, you can start to take meaningful action inside your business. Now, if you miss a target 1 month, that might be a fluke, or it may have been caused by, a specific occurrence or event that, spiked costs, right? Just one-time thing. But prolonged periods of not hitting your targets or wild variances in costs month to month, right? That can indicate that more attention is needed in a specific area of your business. And a key thing that I want you to know here is that when you don't hit your financial targets, it's a symptom of something that's happening or a few things that might be happening inside your business. And if you, for example, need to lower your costs from 40% to 32% in the area of ingredients, it's not as simple as telling your buyer to spend less, right? When you're approaching the process of using your KPI data to create meaningful change in your business, I want you to think about what I call the inspect your expectations strategy. When you don't hit an important KPI target that you need to hit, right, in order to achieve your financial outcomes, you have to inspect your expectations. And that means asking, why are we not hitting the target that I believe we could or should be hitting? What is not happening? What does my team need? What information would be helpful for them in order to achieve our targets or to achieve them more consistently? I want to give you an example from my own work. I worked with a catering client and they needed to achieve a 25% food cost. Now, the kitchen team was tasked with hitting this goal because they were responsible for placing the orders. For each event, they're presented with a menu and the guest count that are both provided by the sales team. Some weeks they would hit their cost targets, and other weeks it seemed like they were overspending like crazy. And when they overspent, the business would suffer losses. So we started the inspect your expectations process, and we asked ourselves, what does the kitchen team need to be able to hit their goal? The first thing they need is to know what their target is. And they knew that. They knew it was 25% food cost. They need to know what that translates into in terms of dollars. They didn't have that. And they need to know how much the ingredients cost that they're buying, right? So they know if they're over or under budget at the time they place the order. They also didn't have that. So we got them a weekly budget. We based it on 25% of the revenue generated for that week's events. And we developed a system so that the buyer would know how much the ingredients cost from each of the vendors they worked with so that they could make informed purchasing decisions. And guess what? They hit their goal sometimes, and other times they didn't. So we started inspecting again. They have their target. They know how much they can spend, and they know the ingredient costs, but they're still overspending. So we asked ourselves, is it possible for them to hit 25%, right? Is it really doable all of the time? And that led us to the next question, which was, is the sales team building a menu at a price that will allow the kitchen team to hit our targets? In catering, especially when there is a buffet or a family style meal, the kitchen typically prepares 20% more portions than number of people who are attending the event. And they do this so that the platters never go empty and they don't run the risk of running out of food. You never know like what kind of a crowd you have. And if they show up with their appetites, you don't want to get caught running out of food. So the sales team was preparing their menus and pricing their events based on per portion cost. They were not charging an additional 20% to cover the additional items prepared for a buffet or family style meal. So for the events where the kitchen was producing 20% more per their standard practices, they were consistently overspending. So to solve our problem, we had to set the sales team up for success in order to set our kitchen team up for success and hit our cost goals. And I lay this out for you today because What we see in our KPIs, again, is a symptom of something happening in our business, and it could be happening way down the line from where we think it is. So taking the inspect your expectations approach and continually asking yourself questions about why you aren't hitting your goals or what your team needs or what they may be lacking is extremely helpful in getting to the root of the problem and creating meaningful change so that you can hit your targets. So to recap, today we talked about the 5 essential financial KPIs that all food and beverage businesses should be tracking. Those are your revenue in terms of dollars, your cost of goods sold, your operating costs, your labor costs, and your food costs, all as a percentage of revenue. We talked about determining the where, the how, the who, and the when your KPI data will be tracked, and the importance of tracking this information consistently over time, because that's the only way that you'll begin to see the story of what's going on in your business, and you can start to take meaningful action. And when you're ready to take action, we talked about the inspect your expectations approach so that you can utilize your KPIs to create real change and achieve financial sustainability and profitability. If you would like support in identifying where your business is now and what the right targets are for your business, I invite you to join us inside the free Profitable Food Business community or inside the Financial Success Formula online program, where we have tools, templates, and online workshops to help you do this work. If you enjoyed this episode, I invite you to rate it and review it. That is the number one way to support this podcast and to help us reach more food and beverage business owners. I am so thankful that you joined me here today. I'll be back next week with a brand new episode.